They tried to steal my inheritance, but my grandparents outsmarted them all. Growing up, I learned early that love in my family wasn't evenly distributed. My sister, Claire, was the golden child, the one my parents adored, praised, and spoiled. She had the newest phone, the prettiest dresses, and the loudest applause at every school performance. I was the other one. It wasn't that I was unloved entirely, but it felt conditional, like I had to earn every scrap of attention. My report cards, my sports trophies, my art awards, they'd smile politely, then change the topic to Claire's latest achievements. The unfairness burned, but I kept it inside. Until one day, when the stakes became higher than I ever imagined. It happened after my grandfather passed away. My grandparents had always been my safe haven, the ones who noticed me, who asked about my day, who didn't compare me to Claire. I thought I'd lost my anchor when he was gone, but I had no idea a storm was brewing. At the funeral, my grandmother pulled me aside. "You and your sister will inherit something one day," she whispered. "But remember, fairness matters more than favoritism." Her eyes lingered on mine, serious, almost warning. I didn't fully understand, but I nodded. 2 months later, my parents started acting strange. It began with whispered conversations behind closed doors, then sudden silences when I walked in. One evening, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. "She doesn't need as much," my mother said, her voice low. "Claire will use it better." My father replied, "Your mother's right. We'll convince her to sign off. She's too naive to realize." They were talking about me. I froze. My chest tightened. What didn't I need as much of? And why was I being signed off on something? That night, I confronted them, and they brushed it off. "Oh, it's just boring financial stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." But I was worried, so I started digging. I called my grandmother, pretending I just wanted to check in. She asked, almost too casually, if my parents had spoken to me about my inheritance yet. I told her no, and her sigh on the other end of the line felt heavy with disappointment. A week later, my parents invited me to a family meeting. We sat in the living room, Claire perched like a princess, me on the far couch. My father cleared his throat. "Sweetheart, you know Claire's starting her business. It's a big opportunity for her future. We were thinking, instead of splitting your grandparents' estate evenly, we could give her a larger share. You'd still get something, of course." I stared at them. "You mean take my inheritance and give it to her?" My mother put on her sweetest smile. "Not take, dear. Redirect. You're not as financially ambitious as she is, and you'll still have plenty." Claire didn't even look ashamed. She just smirked. I said no, flat out. But my parents kept pushing. "Think of the family," they said. "Claire will take care of you one day." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them Claire had never taken care of anyone but herself. But I didn't. Instead, I decided to find out exactly what was going on. The truth came from an unexpected place. 2 days later, my grandmother's lawyer called me. He said there had been concerning requests from my parents to change the terms of my late grandfather's trust. They had tried to alter the distribution so Claire would get 80% of the estate, leaving me with scraps. The only reason the lawyer hadn't done it was because my grandmother refused to sign anything until she spoke to me. I felt my blood boil. My parents hadn't just been manipulative, they'd been actively scheming behind my back. I told the lawyer everything. He listened carefully, then said something that made me pause. "Your grandparents anticipated this might happen." A week later, my grandmother invited me over. She sat me down at the kitchen table, a cup of tea steaming between us. "I knew they'd try this," she said softly. "Your grandfather and I put a special clause in the will, one they don't know about." She explained that my inheritance wasn't just money in an account. It was tied to property, a lakeside cabin we'd visited every summer. The deed was already in my name, with a trust ensuring it couldn't be sold or taken without my consent. "That cabin was where you smiled the most," she said. "It's yours, completely." I was stunned. Not only was it valuable, but it was priceless to me. Then she handed me another document, one that would take effect upon her passing. My share of the financial inheritance would be locked in a separate trust only I could access. My parents couldn't touch it. I didn't plan to tell my parents right away, but fate had other ideas. A few days later, they brought up the redistribution again, this time with paperwork for me to sign. I looked them dead in the eye and said, "You can stop. I know about the cabin. I know about the trust. And I know what you tried to do." The color drained from my mother's face. My father stammered, "Who told you?" "That doesn't matter." I cut in. "What matters is, you tried to steal from me, from your own child." Claire tried to laugh it off, but I saw the flash of anger in her eyes when she realized the plan had failed. They didn't apologize. They just sat there, silent. Months later, my grandmother passed away. It was heartbreaking, but she left behind a final surprise. At the reading of the will, the lawyer announced that my inheritance was larger than Claire's, by design. My grandparents had increased my share to compensate for my parents' favoritism over the years. Claire's jaw dropped. My parents looked like they'd swallowed lemons. And me? I didn't gloat. I just thought about my grandmother's words. Fairness matters more than favoritism. I kept the cabin, visited it often, and used part of my inheritance to fund my own dreams. Not to prove my parents wrong, but to prove my grandparents right.